A 19-year-old Cornell student tells a prospective employer that he refuses to work for Jews. The internet erupts. Powerful people promise to make him unemployable. And then Piers Morgan brings him on, expecting to meet a frightened young man, ready to apologize. But that isn't what happened. Austin Franco appeared calm, defiant, and largely untouched by the public shaming. And that raises a much bigger question. Is he merely one hateful kid who said something indefensible? Or is he the first visible face of a generation being shaped by Nick Fuentes? Because if canceling, shaming, and destroying someone's future no longer changes minds, but actually turns people into symbols and rewards them, America may be entering something it cannot reverse. This isn't only about Austin Franco. It's about what comes after him. We're going to take a look at this clip from Piers Morgan, and you can see that this doesn't look like just some ordinary 19-year-old. And actually, he's actually standing right behind me, and he's standing right behind you, America. This is what is coming, and I hope you are prepared. I hope you are familiar with it. Get familiar with that face. It's not just him, but it's what he represents.
I've had bad experiences with Jews at Cornell. One of my friends at Virginia Tech as well, before I transferred to Cornell, said we should genocide all Palestinians. We should have done it 50 years ago in one fell sweep so that everyone would forget about it. And then while at Cornell, 2 out of the 3 house managers for the apartment complex I was living in were also Jewish and made up things about me that weren't true and dragged me through the mud. And the university, like the Civil Rights Office, they would drag me through it and make up random statements about me that weren't true to get me in trouble. And they ultimately kicked me out of the house right before finals as well. And so those experiences compounded together for me to say, listen, I don't want to be around you people anymore. You've made my life a living hell, especially when it comes to studying for finals. And you continue to make things up about me. I don't want to work for you. It was as simple as that.
So first of all, Piers asks him, why'd you do it? And his response was remarkable. He wanted to see the reaction. He wanted to see primarily the Jewish reaction. And as you can see, there has been a major backlash to what he did, what he said, not only just from him, but from a lot of America. And a lot of people that are in high up positions that have shamed him and canceled him. But as you can see, his stance has not changed. Almost like a scientific experiment. What would happen if I did this? And it's unlike anything else. If someone on the internet says something crazy about Asian people, or he uses the example midgets in this conversation, or black people, or whatever, there would not be this onslaught against him as there has been about Jewish people. And this, if you are familiar with me, I'm not a person that is at all against Jewish people or anti-Semitic or anything like that. But I know no one is going to meet the purity test of who can say something about Jewish oligarchs, people that support Israel, because I support Israel, but not in the way of the nation state, the government over there. Everything they do is gold, but as them as in what they represent in the Bible. They're not a perfect nation. They don't. The people they have in charge aren't perfect people, and probably some people that are evil that are in those positions. You never know. But I stand by them because of the biblical and what they represent. I don't think that God's done with Israel. But I do understand that no one is going to meet the purity test. Charlie Kirk couldn't meet the purity test of what people that support and stand with the Jewish people, with Israel, have to meet. They will put you under the microscope. You have to say everything exactly in lockstep with them, or they will cancel you. They will try to destroy you. They will say that awful word of anti-Semitism that can just plunk your career or your life. But Piers Morgan goes a little bit further. He takes the approach almost that I see of the boomer generation, people that are not in this conversation, that do not know what the heck is going on, and that just are going to just outlash on them. And this is what we see with what Piers Morgan does. He asks them a question and says, what do you think about the war in Iran? And this synopsis, this logical syllogism that Piers Morgan puts him under doesn't really make sense to me, because he says that if we're in a war with Iran and Americans put us there, then you must hate all Americans.
Okay, so just to be clear, what's your view of the war in Iran?
I think we should have no part in it.
Okay, good. So because America's gone to war in Iran, presumably by the same argument you've just put forward, you would not want to be associated with any American for the decisions taken by this American government. You want nothing to do with any Americans. Is that your position?
No. America is made up of it's a multicultural society.
Then you know what, Austin? I knew you'd say no, because you're just not only stupid, but you're a massive hypocrite, because you're blaming 15 million Jews for the decision-making by a prime minister and a government in Israel, which has nothing to do with the vast majority of Jewish people worldwide, many of whom hate it as much as I do. But when the same logic that you've espoused is applied to a war in Iran waged by this American administration, your position is not you want nothing to do with Americans, is it? Because you're a hypocrite. And you don't understand the difference because, frankly, I think you're too wound up in enjoying the ride of being the most famous anti-Semite in America.
And you could just see right there, Boomer, Piers Morgan, who I enjoy listening to, who is obviously, he's like the Jerry Springer of the internet. He stirs up a crowd. He knows how to get the most explosive moments. He's good about that. But he's not really consistent because he's against Israel. He's critical of Israel. And I think that's a good thing. But not seeing the log that is in your own eye. He did the same thing when Nick Fuentes came on his show, just did not give him the time or day, was immediately in a posture that was not going to hear him out whatsoever. And I don't know if his producers fed him this sequence. If you're against the war in Iran, Americans put us there, you must hate all Americans. That doesn't really make sense. And the whole thing, what Austin was trying to push forward was that I can have, as a free American, I can decide who I want to be around. And he did it in a terrible way, but you got to be honest, nobody would get a reaction like this if it wasn't for the community he was saying against. Because people that like the Jewish people, which I love, I absolutely love, and I will die loving them. It doesn't mean I'm going to defend everything that they do. But they are hardcore, and if you get in their bad side, because the people that are the richest in this world tend to be Jewish oligarchs, people that are of that religion, are that identity, and I see that as God has blessed them, even though that they've rejected the Messiah, which they have. But God has still uniquely blessed them. You can say Jewish people throughout culture and throughout societies, they get put in the best positions, the most wealthy positions. They make the most money. Now, I see that in a lot of ways that they got things right. Having 3,000 years of history passed down from families, have a very tight-knit community. They know what is going to make them flourish and prosper the most. It's comedy a lot of the times, and it's money, and then it's a tight-knit community, tight-knit family. So they got something that no other nation, no other people group are ever going to have. And that's why that people are hypercritical of the Jewish people. They have some ground to stand on. They definitely have some, and that's what you see, that people that are very upset about their position, about their ability to make wealth, that is happening. And Tucker Carlson is calling this out. And this is what threw Nick Fuentes up in arms, because Tucker Carlson is saying this social inequality with wealth. People are upset about not having a place to make wealth, to have money, to have a better life, that we are seeing that decline. It's no longer going in the incline or ascending for Americans, for young Americans. It's getting bleaker and bleaker, and they are getting more and more pissed off. And this Austin Franco is just the very front end of it. Nick Fuentes started the flame. He started it. He lit the match, and he threw it into the pile of wood. And we're just seeing the first embers of it, of this Austin Franco. But of what's coming, it could be like a huge storm, a huge firestorm. That's why Gentiles that are able to just cause all this dust to go up in there and things to go out of control, but it really doesn't last forever. The Jewish people are what's going to last forever because they have that tight-knit community. Gentiles get all pissed off and go after the Jewish people or go after each other, but there's nothing connecting them. With Americans, really, what really ties us together and connects us? Our race? No. Our religion? No. Freedom of speech? That can only almost divide us more and more because people say what they think. We don't have nothing, a family tie of keeping us together. And so there's going to be this blow up, this extreme fire that's just going to be just, it's going to just consume a lot of stuff. It's consuming a lot of the white Americans, men, their hearts. And it's something that has seeped into, and I just see it going out of control unless something captures it, harnesses it, tries to change direction, because it does not look good what the future is going to bring. Because Tucker Carlson, he brings up the whole wealth, not distributing of wealth, and people being upset of the not having the ability or the potentiality that previous generations had. There's no I can go and buy a house that's not going to be a crazy amount of money, and my job's not even paying for it. The wage does not go along with inflation. So young men are very upset, very upset. And I know Tucker Carlson has voiced this, and Nick Fuentes has immediately discounted him. And he's fallen into the identitarian state that we need more white people. We need more white society. I want to feel comfortable. And I get that. I totally get that. If you're whatever race you are, you do feel more comfortable around people that share or that have similar taste, similar culture, values. We naturally gravitate towards that. So that's striking a very strong chord in people. And especially young men who are going to be the spearhead of where the direction of our country goes. So Nick has tapped into that, saying that identitarianism, and he's discounting what Tucker is saying about wealth and people having the ability to climb the status of society and make more money. It's becoming bleaker and bleaker possibilities. You almost have to be just a firework that just explodes to somehow get ahead, as opposed to previous years. It's not the same as it was. But what I think that Nick Fuentes does is something that just makes him in defense mode. People say you're only getting the young minds, and that is almost like an insult to him. And he took it as an insult. If you watched his previous show on Friday, he took it as an insult. And I would say I almost would pile onto that and say he is going after young minds, because I don't think his viewpoint is fully formed. It's going after people that have not had full life experience. I know you can get people, there are people that get full life experience, and then they're just a boomer that is in concrete, and their mind can't be changed one way or the other. They lack empathy anymore. They aren't able to see it from the younger generation's shoes. So it's from both sides, but there are a lot of young people that haven't really fleshed out what Nick Fuentes is saying that is going to lead them off a cliff. It eventually will. It might give you a lot of gold and a lot of prestige and a lot of good things in this life along the way, but it's going to eventually lead you off a cliff, because it's not tied to values that I would say that I would ascribe to biblical values. I know the whole identitarianism thing where I like my own people. I like my own clan. I want to be a part of my own tribe. I want to see my own color and nothing else, because you feel comfortable with that. But that, at the end of the day, that's not really, I'm not even going to say just America, but what biblical Christianity is built on. It doesn't matter how much, if black people piss you off or whatever, and you can't stand to be around them, at the end of the day, in Christ, we are all equal. And there has to be a sense that you give privilege to people that are under you. You don't lord it over them. You don't say, because I got it all together, I can be this way. And I know it's not going to strike a chord with a lot of people, because this wave right now that is happening, it is popular. It feeds that itch that you have and what you have deep down in you. You want to see people that you can relate to. But I think that there has to be something bigger. I know in the short run, he's going to gain a lot of notoriety, and he has. And he's gained a lot of minds, which he has. But at the end of the day, he's leading them in a wrong direction, because he started off at a wrong foundation. Now, out of the gate, he's going in the wrong direction. Not completely, but he's veering a certain way that's not going to bring the best outcome, especially for these young men who are buying into everything he says, that aren't able to discern the good stuff that he says from the bad stuff. And you could say he says a lot more bad stuff or a lot more good stuff. It doesn't really matter. But They're saying because it becomes this mob mentality. Whatever he says, I have to follow. And I don't think Nick, he don't want to be a king. He's just wanting to say stuff. He's not wanting to ascribe to political office or get or a position of power. I don't even think he necessarily wants that. I don't think he sees that as a possibility. He wants to be a voice on the internet that brings entertainment. But I think at the end of the day, it's giving a lot of more poison as opposed to good nourishing value that's going to bring a good outcome, bring good plants or whatever, good fruit. It seems like it's going to create bad fruit in the end. I do understand like where Piers is coming from and him bringing this up about Austin. He's immediately got in defense mode and wanted to just berate him over, not even let him speak. Like he calls his show uncensored, but he completely censored Austin by not letting them speak. And I think that is, if people aren't ready for this, this is going to become this is going to be our natural world. This is going to be the world that you walk out and see every day. It's going to be like prison, more distinct, more segregated, because, and you can say, I mean, to me, like if I got to be honest, like I want something to happen. I want something exciting to happen. Whether it's AI taking over, having an abundant life, or it's cause us to go into like, fighting mode, fight or flight. I mean, that's the guilty pleasure in me, I guess. So I can almost see that perspective that Nick is feeding and fueling into a lot of people because, man, I mean, and maybe I'm different than a lot of people because I do think I think a lot different than a lot of people. Most people are just, they want the white picket fence. They want to have a stable income, a sturdy job, and just to make it through day by day, 9 to 5, all that kind of stuff, and just have a good weekend, some good holidays, But I think I get more why people want that fire, want something to happen. But it's like almost the good in me like says, hey, we can't go down this road. It can't. It's not going to turn out well, and I think it's the battle between the evil side on you and the good side. Yeah, I think we should just hunker down. I think we should just provide the best, make it the best outcome for the future. And I'm always just hesitant because is it the most exciting future or the most steady, stable future? I want us to I want AI to take over and just like us as humanity to fight against the machines. I think that'd be fun. Gosh, I mean, I get so much into this where I just like analysis of what's happening as opposed to, and then my inner heart, it just comes out. Like I want excitement. So I get what Nick Fuentes is fueling, but this whole idea, that of just like, we need white people. We need more white people. We need that's what I want to be around. It's like, if you're saying that, if you're pushing that, eventually there's not everybody's white. So it's like something else has to bring us together, otherwise we're going to fall apart. That's how I view it. So maybe that's just a little guilty pleasure. I have to say it, I want a little chaos, but chaos, is not good. It's not good. Bad, Brandon, bad. Don't want that. Don't do that. But it's hard. It's hard. I can read it. I can read what is happening. And I don't understand how people that are out there, the most vocal people, don't see it. That don't understand it. That don't because it's like you have to almost be on one side or the other. This Groyper side that is like, we're bringing it all down, or this, this Jewish oligarchy side, this Fox News side that just wants to say the right things, cannot say anything to offend are the hierarchs, the bigwigs, the ones that are up there, the ones that can destroy and counsel you. But it's like even canceling, it does nothing. It does nothing. And I don't understand. Like they've made this person, Austin Franco, a martyr. But all that did was add a lot more fuel to his future. He got canceled from Cornell, but he's going back to Cornell because that's not going to fly. And it's not the days of like the early Nick Fuentes days where they canceled him and they could really shut him up. No, he came back and became crazier and bigger than ever, more articulate, more nuanced, and he was able to gain a bigger following. I'm not saying that this Austin Franco is going to be anything, But it just shows, it goes to show what's coming down the pike. There are so many people behind this guy. And it's not just people, like as in women and old people. It's young men who are of this same mindset, who have grown up listening to Nick Fuentes. But they're not challenging him because you can't challenge him, because you have to say everything lockstep with him or he'll throw you out. You can see that Nick Fuentes, he doesn't have many close friends. A lot of the times, eventually he ends up fighting with somebody because he can't be told no. He can't be told or challenged. He can't be not vindicated. His show is constant vindication of proving himself that I am right. It doesn't matter what I say or what I actually believe, but I'm right. And I can't go against anything I've said before. And that's where I think that lack of development is not coming. He can articulate like everything, like the best, better than anyone, but doesn't mean he has the right mindset or the right viewpoints that are going to lead our nation into greener pastures or a better life. But he's still entertaining. I cannot disprove that. I cannot go against that. He is certainly entertaining. And that's why, as you can see, I'm not being paid by Israel. I'm not being paid by Jewish people. I'm not being paid by Groypers or any like that. It's impossible for me to grift. I can't even imagine it. Just saying something you don't believe. I'm to a fault. I will say something I believe in. I don't necessarily know the most prominent names out there do. They just say what's trending, what's going to get the most applause, what's going to get the most clicks, the most views, as opposed to what's the truth. Even if it goes against the Jewish oligarchs, even if it goes against the popular internet position that is anti-Semitism, that is just pouring through every page on the internet right now. It's the Jewish question that people are raising, and people are pissed off. And I'm calling out from both sides. I stand with the Jewish people. I stand with Israel, but I understand and I can empathize with the people that are upset and don't think they have a fair shake, and know that they're gonna be shut up just like Austin Franco. If I open my mouth, say what I really think, I'm gonna be canceled. So this is the real viewpoint. This isn't the fruity viewpoint or the lying, deceiving viewpoint. This is the reality viewpoint that sees it from both sides and is able to thread the needle. All right, and that's what we do here. All right, we'll leave it at that. Drop a comment. Let me know what you think about all this, and I'll see you all in the next one.